So we have actually, speaking within this vein, an update on the case of Julian Assange.
Yeah, so this is really important. Just to remind you guys, Assange is in prison right now in the UK, and the US government is trying to extradite him to face charges of espionage. It's important to give you a little bit of the context here. So remember, under the Obama administration, they really wanted to go after Assange, and they essentially, Eric Holder and the Obama administration felt that they couldn't charge him. They couldn't figure out this New York Times problem. How do we charge Julian Assange and destroy him the way that we want to, but not also implicate New York Times or any other journalistic outlet? They couldn't figure that out. Bill Barr and Trump come into office and they take a more aggressive stance, and they go after Assange on this idea that he helped Chelsea Manning hack into the documents, which is ridiculous for a lot of reasons that I won't get into. But also, a lot of journalists help their source to be able to protect their communications, and they provide them that sort of support. So again, it's not clear that you're not criminalizing all of journalism, even if Assange was tangentially involved in helping to hack this password. But Chelsea Manning had access to all of these documents, did not need Julian Assange's help. We reported, almost alone among U.S. media. There are very few, literally zero mainstream U.S. outlets that covered the fact that one of the U.S. government's key witnesses in this just admitted that he completely lied and made up his story. This guy is a known criminal, known pedophile, and invented this story so that he could escape prosecution for some of his other crimes. So that part of the case totally fell apart. The initial hearing, which, again, this started under the Trump administration, but the Biden administration has continued to seek Assange's extradition. At the initial extradition hearing, the judge said, no, we're not going to extradite Julian Assange, not because we disagree with the merits of the case against him, which was important and not good, but because we're worried about his psychological health. We think he's at extreme risk of suicide, especially because we know how it is in U.S. prisons, and it's horrific, especially in supermax prisons where he's likely to be held because he's being charged with this national security crime. So that brings me to the update. The U.S. government has now given the UK assurances that, number one, Julian will not be held under the strictest maximum security conditions, and I'm reading for the Wall Street Journal now, if extradited to the U.S. They're also saying we're not going to put him in a supermax prison. They also have given assurances that Julian Assange would be permitted to serve any jail time if he's convicted in his native Australia. Now, there's some important caveats to even those assurances, which should be seen in light of they had to address these concerns in order, this is an attempt by the U.S. government to continue to get Julian extradited so that they can try to convict him in the U.S. and send him to prison for the crime of publishing the secrets of the powerful, okay? But even within that context, there's some important caveats here. They said the Dissenter had a good article just breaking down exactly what the kind of caveats are. So they said that they wouldn't impose these special administrative measures, which is isolation, effectively, and these other sort of extreme tactics that are used in U.S. prisons during pretrial confinement or in prison if he's convicted. But they didn't say they wouldn't hold him in administrative segregation or other forms of isolation. So that's an important caveat. They said that he'll receive clinical and psychological treatment. They also said he would not be imprisoned at a supermax in California unless he committed a future act that met the test for designation. So again, kind of a big loophole there. And then with regards to him serving any time if convicted in Australia, that would only happen after every appeal and everything was exhausted. So that means if he faces trial in the U.S., you all know how long these cases can drag out, years and years.
It's been over a decade.
Before he'd ever been sent back to Australia. I mean, the bottom line of all of this is Julian Assange should be free today. The Biden administration has it in their power to drop these charges right now, release Julian, allow him to be free, and actually make good on all of their hollow Right.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I think that the crazy part is, and again, it's funny, there are a lot of media stories today, which is that the Indian press, per Glenn Greenwald, is one of the only places currently that will be reporting about some of these details, about the pullback of the lawsuit and more. To this time, there's still not anything in the New York Times or more, even though some of their own reporters on a personal level have been like, hey, look, I'm a national security reporter. If you prosecute him, they can prosecute me.
Yeah, that's
They've said this. I've heard them say this, and they've even written so publicly, but not one of them has done a story on it yet. So I think that tells you a lot.
Yeah, and it's disgusting how they'll go out there and be, oh, freedom of the press, and we're so offended by Trump. You can't say anything about the attacks, the verbal attacks on journalists. If you don't talk about this, if you don't care about this, I mean, this is a direct attack on freedom of the press, a direct attack on the First Amendment. And all that, and you all know I interviewed Julian's father and his brother last week for Krystal and Friends. All that they want is the Biden administration to go back to the position of the Obama administration, the Obama-Biden administration, when they recognized we can't charge Assange without implicating all of journalism. That's all they're asking for. Don't continue this Trump-era prosecution. Go back to what your thinking was under Barack Obama. That's all that they're asking for. And it is a complete outrage that Julian Assange continues to be held. And I mean, his mental health, his physical health, they have done everything they possibly can to destroy him. It's disgusting. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.